Returning from last Furality, we have our community leaders back to talk about and inform everyone about all the different furry species and communities within VRChat.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Furality Community Leader Q&A panel. We are all free VRChat community leaders inside of this game here. We will be discussing some stuff. Whatever you guys want to bring up, ask a question. The link should be on the Twitch. Should be at the bottom of the screen on the Twitch. That will show you where you can answer or ask questions, and I will get them, read them out, and all of us will try and answer them to the best of our ability. So, Hawaiian, if you could start us off with kind of introduce yourself and who you are, and then we'll go down the list of all of our panelists here. Also, if you would like to possibly be on this panel next year, for some other community, if you lead a community in this game, make sure to message me. You can contact me through the Best Boy Discord, which is down there in front of us. All of our Discord and all of our links are down there. If you ever want interested in joining or getting into any of our communities, just join through those links. Links will also be posted in the Twitch chat at the end of the event. So, yeah, off to Hawaiian.
Okay, hello. I am Wittman, or Hawaiian Hyena, and I am an admin and community manager for the Hyundai Emporium, or Land of Cackles.
Hello, I am Rustydustyfox, project head for the Best Boy Project and the Best Boy Modeling team. The Best Boy Project is kind of a group that specializes in creating free community models based around available models that will be delivered free of charge to everyone. And they're highly customizable, and that kind of thing is our goal, to make those kind of models. So, sure.
Hello, my name is Shalefoot, and I represent the Shiba Squad. I am currently an acting moderator and community manager for the Shibas as a whole. This community was created by Pika, in which our social media is on here in case you are interested at any point during the panel. And yes.
I'm Dashi. I'm the owner of the Avali Army. We mostly go around with doing space meetups and general games, mostly around model making of the Avalis.
And hello, I'm Hiyu. I'm a 3D modeler and community leader for the Long Boys, which are these weasel, pine marten kind of species of avatar. And it's a general mustelid, weaselly kind of community for VR players.
Sadly, it does. Oh, actually, Spaghet just got here in time. Spaghet, would you like to introduce yourself?
Dave, hello.
Whoa!
He's striking a pose for us. It's okay.
Do a little spin. Hi, I'm Spaghet. I made the Kangas. I make other avatars. And I manage a little community of people in VRChat.
DearAvatar.com?
Yeah.
Sure.
Glad to have you.
Would you like to go ahead and we could start off with our questionnaires?
Well, it seems like the link isn't on the Twitch quite yet. I think they're still trying to pull up the link to go send the questions. I'm not sure why it's not there yet, but
perhaps
I guess we could
share
start
more
by taking
about
some
our
questions from the
communities.
audience.
Oh, yes, that could work too.
Yeah, we could start by going off with some questions from the audience. If anyone has a question, like, please raise your hand or do something to get yourself noticed in the crowd if you do not are VR. That way we can see you. And if you may have a question, now is time. So.
Oh, I think I see one right there.
Yes. What is your question?
What are some of the biggest hurdles that you have to go over or do in in hosting and having a large community of people, especially with like one of yours, Rusty, that has to distribute a model and help people with textures and all the coordination that kind of comes into play with being able to help so many people and talk to them and manage them all at the same time?
I guess we could start with Hawaii and then go down the list for everyone.
Okay. So the review of the question is like, how do we manage or like with the way the models are distributed, or the ways the models, or if we have support for if people want help with textures and things. Okay, so
kind of some of the challenges associated with all that.
Okay, so some of the challenges that you'll encounter is when you're starting out, or even when you're still going, is you try to have someone who's done Discord servers before help you lay out your server so it's not too clunky. Unfortunately, the Highness server is a bit too old at this point, and it has a bit too many channels, but we've put them into subsections. So in one specific section is about the free avatars and models and model help. So in model help, you can go and ask your questions, and we have various people that are not any of our moderators, but are different people that have done customs and have encountered problems. And if I can answer some of the questions, I will. And if other people do, we kind of chip in. We use different people in the community. It's like an open forum. So if people have any questions, or if they get snagged on something, they can send in pictures on there. Through the way models are distributed, in some cases, they'll be off of websites. So like a slightly better run places have actual websites. We still only go through our Discord. And it can either be through Google Drives or through, our group uses Mega, which is a cloud service in New Zealand. So, and then we also try to list, because this is for continuity, is with each section, we'll have to say what SDK that they'll work with, because it'll conflict if you use the wrong SDK. I'm not really sure if I have very much more input. We can see farther down the line.
All right. I guess I could go. And if whoever's running the stream, could you please move the link to the Twitch to the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, or somewhere else that's more visible? Because right now it looks to be a bit cut off, where you can send the link. Maybe move it like above everyone, above all the pictures. That would be a better place to put it. But I guess to answer your question, for when it comes to running that kind of event, there's a lot of different factors that come into it, especially for me, who kind of has like the public models and all, has to help a lot of people with their coming in, because what I've noticed with me especially is that you get a lot of new people coming who've never done anything with modeling before, and they're just like, hey, what do I do? What do I have to download? And what I found to be useful is just like have a community of people who know how to do it. Like find people who already know how to kind of have that skill. Like community can teach itself, kind of. But if you ever need, like, if you're the one who creates the stuff, you can basically go in there and say, okay, this is what you got to do, and kind of help people out. Because really, setting up a model isn't really that hard. If you have your package is set up correctly, all you got to do is tell them what to download, have them click on a Unity scene, and boom, the model's right there. And it really depends on like what kind of skill you're going for, I guess. Shale?
Yeah, so this may seem pretty obvious initially, but what you should consider is obviously a community that you would like to promote proactivity in the creation, editing, modification of these already distributed assets per the community. You should always have a channel or designated category where people of like-mindedness and creativity can congregate together, and they have an easy direction to go in, because it's easy to put yourself out there in the public channels of a Discord community and say, hey, I need help, and can someone DM me? Or you might overhear that one particular individual might be able to help you. But the more the merrier, and the more centralized the better. So having those resources available for people to come together, find out who, where, when they can get help is the best feasible option that I can personally see. Do you have any input, Dashi?
I'd say ours is pretty much the same. We have a section on our channel for anyone who's helped with sorting out the SDK, from retexturing if it's on a free-to-use paint software, or so like even a paid one. We teach them how to like texture it properly. We teach them how to do animations, to do all of the pretty much fixes and corrections of their models, so they can get it uploaded with mostly ease. So pretty much our whole community helps each other.
It's the same in the longboard community. Although one thing I want to answer is how you get that started, and how do you reduce the workload on your community for answering all these questions as well. So what the Longboy does is it comes with a PDF, and there's also a Google Doc version online that we spread, which actually has essentially all of the information that answers all the most asked questions. It's pretty much like a massive tutorial document, and it has all the information you need, and even little tutorials for the most common use cases. And for stuff like uploading, even though it makes the file size a bit bigger, the download comes with if you package your avatar with the actual Unity project, like the folder inside of the zip, then they don't have to add the SDK and add the model. They can just open up that project. The first Longboy was actually uploaded to VRChat within 5 minutes of the person downloading it. Actually, I think that was you. So. That really helps as well, having a user manual or tutorial of some kind you include.
Yeah, it's something I'm planning to do with my avatars at some point in the future.
Do you have anything you'd like to add on to that, Spaghet?
Yeah. So for us, with on the technical issue side of uploading avatar, I think the single most frequent issue is people not knowing they have to include dynamic bones. Because legally we cannot distribute dynamic bones with an avatar because it's a paid asset, but it's a required thing to upload an avatar. So I really hope that the VRChat developers in the future will either acquire the rights to dynamic bones or have an equivalent of it included, so that we can make these all-in-one packages that people can just upload as is without having to go fetch some other assets for it to work.
And for those who don't know, dynamic bones is like the floppy ears that you have. When you move your head, the ears flop around instead of just being like, permanently stuck out like they're made of wood.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions?
Yeah. Yes, so we do. We have a lot of questions we are getting. Let's see. What is the hardest part of what is it? What is the hardest part of managing a community of a decent size?
Is that directed towards any panelist in particular, or should we continue
everyone,
to answer
so I guess we could run down the line again. Yeah, I think down the line unless it's
okay,
specific.
we'll go consecutive.
A specific one.
Okay,
Yeah.
So my input on when your community gets to larger size is it's inevitable. Like depending on what you're hosting or what you're running, more people are going to get on board, and you'll already have, depending on how you lay out your server, or if you have a map that's themed, your map will usually have the Discord link. So you're going to get people coming in, and then you usually will set your lower moderation or admins to be accepting people, or you'll have a bot that accepts them. Otherwise, if you're like my group, which is a bit too old, we still have to manually give out the Discord link, and the same link that's posted in front of me is from September 2017 or so it's really old, but it's still usable. When you get your community larger, with most of the way that it's happened with my group is we'll have people that are invested in the community and who do have the time and within different time zones because it's international. And they're up to putting in time to be moderation. They don't fill out. We don't have as well organized setup as applications like other groups. So most of the time, it's just kind of we talk to people in the community, and sometimes we'll approach them, or sometimes they'll approach us. And with a group, I don't know the full numbers, but when it's getting larger, then you do want more, at least moderators to cover almost all the time slots of the world. So you have like different people in Europe and Asia and North America. So in short, what I'd say our group did was we usually will have more team members of the management, but also it allows you to expand a little more and keep people's interest with events. So I haven't really been a host of events, but it is a good idea, and we have had several in the past, and I'm very grateful for Shale for hosting several of them. And so that's another good way when you have a larger group. You won't always have a lot of them all in one map either. Your maps are limited. So overall, sometimes if you can coordinate it, you can get a big get together and have them pile in a map. But you can't really have or visually see all your membership. So that's my input on larger groups.
Yeah, going off a little bit what Wittman said, I totally agree with you. Like, well, with the Best Boy community, we do meetups like meetups like once every 2-ish weeks. We'll have like a meetup where a group or the most like active group will come into a world and have a good time together. And then once a month we'll do meetings where I'll come up on stage for like 10-ish minutes and talk about the community and that kind of thing. But going back to the original question, I guess, when it comes to like managing a community and like getting your community to that size, you ever heard like a goldfish will never grow bigger than the fish tank it's in? I kind of look at it that way. Build your server as if it was going to be this massive server. Like, I don't mean to go into that with that expectation of becoming a big server, because realistically it's very hard to get to that point. But have the infrastructure ready, so you don't need to go back and change things and go through everything again, because that's hard to do once you've already started to grow. So like, build yourself with the framework you need to build your community up, and go from there, basically. And for me personally, the hardest part when it comes to like managing a community of that size is just like dealing with the sheer membership size of it. There's a lot of back things that people really don't see when you're in the front. Like, there's a lot of pressure because you're the one who's trying to deliver this content to all these people, and that can be a really, really difficult thing for a lot of people to kind of think about, because if you mess up, a lot of people are going to see that mistake, and that can be a very stressful thing. Michelle?
Mm-hmm. I agree a lot with what Wittman and Rusty have said, that infrastructure is really important in the growth of a community. Inevitably, you'll want to implore and give incentive for fellow community members to aid each other. It's always good to have a moderation team handy to manage these big, continually growing communities, but a key factor are the people, those within it. Another thing along with growing a big community is to consider the possibility that one day it will come to an end. It's something that I know a lot of people won't consider and kind of is deviating from this topic, but it is something that I do think is important to cover, because just as quickly as a community can grow, it can also plateau and come to a conclusion. So mentally preparing yourself for those circumstances and also providing future alternatives, projects, and other things you'd like to continue with and improve upon with what knowledge you've learned when creating and moderating, managing a community, I think is a very important aspect when you are beginning to get up into those higher numbers, especially if you aren't too active yourself in the community. The community members among you will take notice of that, and everybody needs to participate in some form, even if it's just a little word a day or them joining in, if only to leave. That participation will always play a crucial part, no matter how big or small. Do you have something to say, Dashi?
Well, I'd say mine's pretty similar. With my community team and all that, we rely on good communication between us all. Along with, we're all in different time zones, so we can uncover pretty much day and night of every day. And most of them, they arrange all of our meetups and such, so I try to attend them as much as I can when I'm free, but I rely on them as much as everyone on the server. They rely on me.
Yeah, and the question was specifically about community size, and there's a few different aspects, I think, to community size, because it's not really about member count. It's more about how much stuff is happening, how busy is it, and also how quickly did that develop. There are communities, especially run by YouTubers, where they'll put out their Discord link and suddenly they'll have several thousand people in this community, but those people all just joined immediately, and so there was no natural build-up, and it's kind of chaos. There's, whenever people join a community, and you've probably experienced this yourself joining a community, there's a case of a period of time where you're kind of, not really active that much. You're just kind of watching everyone else and figuring out, how does this community work? How do people speak? And what kind of stuff do we talk about? And you kind of pick up on that ethos of the community and apply that to how you engage. And so you want to really take advantage of when new users join, you want them to have that good experience. You want them to see that your community is a certain way so that they know to reciprocate that. And so if you have a natural growth to your community, you're able to really maintain the ethos you want in that community without things kind of running away without you. And yeah, I mean, in my experience, the communities that I run are quite chill. There's not an awful lot going on. Meetups aren't as regular as I would like quite yet. But as far as the natural sort of development goes and controlling how it grows, so that you don't want to use cheap tactics to grow your community, because those just end up with cheap community members, and it'll turn into a kind of a cheap community. So yeah, it's a case of being careful and really kind of getting into the mind of what does a person see when they join, and what do they decide? How do they decide to reciprocate?
Yeah,
The Kango
absolutely.
community is small enough to manage easily, so I don't really have anything to add to that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I guess we can take one from the crowd now. But Flamey, if someone else maybe could put the link to the question answering in the Twitch chat itself, because I see some people are having trouble with the link in there. I think that would be a good thing to do for that. If we could get another question from the audience real quick, if anyone has another question, if they could raise their hand or come on, show up and like jump around. Kenzie.
Hi. So my question is a little complex. Might be hard to answer for some, and you're free to skip over it. But one thing that a lot of communities tend to struggle with is keeping out problematic people and dealing with people who are either genuinely abusive or just toxic to a community. What steps do you guys generally take to ensure that you have minimized problematic members of the community as much as you have possible? And what would you recommend for people that are also running communities to do to minimize this kind of mentality and these kind of people within a community?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Hawaiian, if you could get started with that.
Okay, I will start.
Again.
Our community is somewhat one of the starter groups, so it was very experimental per se. We originally would accept everyone that would get the link and would request to join. We already had in the server a set aside area where you had to first be confirmed and ranked before you could even really interact with the rest of the server. So at times we would already hear in passing, or the name was familiar, and we would do background research on people, and specific people that would possibly be troubles, then we would not accept. So we would in some cases I would message them like directly and explain it. It's like I have to explain. And other cases people just are accepted, and people legitimately got kind of bored. They were like, well, I'm bored and I just want to kind of cause chaos. So people became problematic later. So we have had to kick people, but it's individual and case by case. And even with our numbers the way they are and numbers the way they were, we really haven't had to kick that many people because we already had the initial entry gate per se, where people kind of congregate. We had to go accept them. So that's, I don't really have much, if I have much more information on my advice for how to keep people out besides just kind of talk to already existing communities and figure out who exactly maybe it would be problematic that might apply for your new community that's coming up, because it's a continuous thing. I've had to deal with the same people, and I have to go talk to other groups and other communities and say, this person is this individual, and this is possibly what they do if they want to join your community, or this is what they could do to go and hurt other people. So it's up to you to decide, but this is the person's name and this is their Discord, and hopefully they don't use an alt, because people probably can use alts, but that's all the information that I
have. For me, I guess the best thing is I could say stay vigilant. Always be on the lookout. Look, you have to be, as a community leader, you should be active in your community. You should be always like going through, seeing who's joining, being like a part of it. Because once you become detached from the community starts to become a different thing. And when that happens without that kind of person, without you being there, it could be in a negative direction. Like, as a leader, you kind of have to, you should be steering the community in a good direction. Like, as a leader of the Best Boy community, we have had unfortunate individuals who have regrettably gained positions of power in our community, which leads to a lot of negativity. So we must always be vigilant and when rooting out those individuals. So like if you get a report, so as a community leader, let's say I get a report from someone, first thing you gotta do is investigate it. And first thing, remove the person from their position temporarily and investigate. Then you can decide like, is this a real thing or is this not a real thing? And when it is real, you must act, because if you let those kind of people who are toxic, who are abusing people in the community, become figureheads in the community, that can be extremely damaging to not only your image but the community's image. Like you personally could get blamed for someone else's actions as a community leader if there's someone in your community starts doing negative things, like model crashers or like abusive people and that kind of thing. You must always be on the lookout for them. And community leaders talk. I mean, we talk to each other. Community leaders talk to each other. So problematic individuals will be. If someone's a problematic individual, we will kind of go out and kind of tell each other. Like Hawaiian was talking about a bit. Like if there's someone who's actively known for causing issues, word of mouth and like even directly telling other people, we'll get around that those kind of things are happening. And that's kind of all I could say on the issue. But just like as well, like I know one more thing though, about kind of what Hawaiian said about like having a gate to get people in. On the best way, you have to read the rules, which we have a decent set of rules. I think that like just kind of puts up the framework of what is like acceptable, what isn't acceptable, and that kind of thing. And in that rules, you'll find the password, and you have to message that to one of our staff members to get access to the rest of the server. This is such a big thing. I think a lot of more community servers should do, because it keeps out a lot of the raiders and the spammers and the people who just won't communicate with the server. It's like a good filter for that kind of thing. And I guess that's kind of all I could say about that for now.
One of the things I like to implore to everyone, and something I hold true, is never be negligent with what is brought to your attention. There might be some individuals that you already feel will be troublesome, but they themselves might actually have proper inclination to report a different troublemaker in your community. No matter who brings this information to you, whether it's a credible source or not, you should still try to investigate it and consult your fellow community leaders to see if there's any validity to these claims. Another thing that was mentioned is, since these are online communities, anonymity is a big part of being in these communities. Two types of troublemakers could be one who is putting on a facade and attempting to come under a different alias, but someone else might be inadvertently being too exuding a lack of anonymity and sharing too much information about oneself. So those are some individuals you have to keep in mind about when you're here in an online community. And just as Wittman and Rusty have mentioned, having a gateway and having proper permission sets, whatever platform you may be on, if feasible, is a great way to deter those first wave or initial troublemakers that might arrive to the community. I personally have to say that I do at times find that I have trouble speaking to troublemakers in the community, people who might be abusive and confrontational, because I myself am a human. We are all human and exude empathy in one way or another. I can definitely understand people's apprehension to approaching these individuals, but as a community leader, regardless of what you might be feeling personally, you need to take the words of others and try to do what you can to help everyone in the situation as best as possible, while also making sure that everyone is safe in the process. Do you have something you'd like to say?
Not really. Our one's mostly down to just a 2-step warning. And well, if they continue after the 2 steps, we normally discuss what do we do with them. Do we give them a third chance, or do we get rid of them? But that's maybe us. Ours is pretty short.
Now I want to talk about what it's like to make the decision to ban someone. There are a lot of definitely cases where banning people can be quite difficult. You're essentially silencing a person from your community. However, there is a case where silencing a person is entirely justified, I feel, and where the decision is made very easy to you. And that is when they are trying to silence others, or they support groups who are trying to silence others. The paradox of tolerance is that in order to get along, we must really, really work to not tolerate the people whose message is that we shouldn't get along. The people who are intolerant of others for no good reason whatsoever, we cannot be tolerant of them whatsoever, and that is how we can achieve maximum average tolerance and have a good time. I also want to talk about a weird edge case. There's a very difficult situation, especially when it comes to voice chats, where those of us who are much less lucky when it comes to our social skills, especially early in life, I used to be one of those too, can not understand, like they don't have this same period where they join the server and they see how things are going and they kind of get the feel for it. They might not actually do that the way other people do. And they might really often interrupt people or not get things, or, without knowing it and without intending to be, they can be really drag down the mood or the tone, or, make chatting with others difficult because you kind of feel like they're in the way. And there's an edge case where this can be so bad for an individual that, it's not breaking any rules. It's not, being toxic, and they're not wanting to do any harm. But can just be really, really difficult for everyone. And so something that I withhold is that, we at least require people to try their best not to degrade the quality of communication. And, we will do things like, if you're constantly interrupting people in voice chat, if you just don't get it, then you can't voice chat. We'll take that away from you, because the server needs to keep going, and if it's being pulled back, we have to make that decision. But it can be hard to make that decision because it's not like they're trying anything. It's not like they're deliberately doing anything wrong. But yeah, that's like a kind of a last resort kind of difficult thing to do.
Very well said, Hiyu.
Yeah, good job.
For me, the only ban that occurred in the Kanga server was someone that was absolutely legendary for getting banned out of multiple communities for very sus behavior and just generally being a dick. So that was a pretty clear-cut case. And yeah, sometimes you just gotta rule with an iron fist, where even if a person hasn't yet caused much issue in your community, if they're known for repeatedly just being an awful person in multiple other communities and getting banned everywhere over and over, then you might want to just keep them out as soon as you notice they arrive.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, people have reputations. We talk.
I guess going off the whole community leaders talk to each other, I have a question saying, do your communities work together in any capacity, and do you have any joint plans moving forward?
Ooh,
Well, I
like
guess I can kind of
that.
talk about that. I think me and Hawaiian were talking about maybe doing some kind of joint Yi and Best Boy event. But I think maybe we could do after the panel. Maybe we could talk about maybe doing some big community event with all of our communities coming together. I guess that's what if we use that group chat for that afterwards. That would be interesting.
There's no math.
That is true. That is true.
Good question.
Yes, very good question.
For me personally, I've thought about doing joint community events, but haven't pursued too heavily on any of them yet. But this is definitely a great question. I'm glad this was brought up because I think it's time.
Yes, indeed. Let's see here. Alright, for those, this is more a question towards Shalefoot and Spaghet, I suppose, but for those who run Discord for paid models, how do you address handling expectations from users who think that being part of a Discord entitles them to be able to have access to the model?
This one I might have to think about.
I guess that's Spaghet wants to be interested.
I haven't had that issue at all.
Can you repeat the question, sorry?
Yeah, one last time, if you don't mind.
Yes, Hiyu too. I forgot that you have the Long Boys paid. It's for those who run Discords for paid models, how do you address handling expectations from users who think being a part of a Discord entitles them to be able to have access to the model?
Shalefoot.
Yes.
Wait.
I suppose I can go ahead and answer now. So, with regards to people coming and joining the Discord community or wherever your assets may be offered to other individuals, if they're paying for the assets, I do feel that we are obligated to distribute those assets because it is a paid product. If we do find that somebody is really being detrimental in terms of use of the avatar, it's breaking TOS, we can't exactly take away those assets. It now belongs to them to some degree, but we can ask them to prohibit such use of those assets, as well as let them know that, we can't have them in the community if they're going to, abuse that. But yes, typically with regards to paid assets, you're paying for a product and you should get what you paid for. If it does come to a point where they are able to provide proof or some kind of validation that they are relinquishing ownership of such assets, perhaps refunds can be in order. But I haven't found a particular circumstance like that myself. So that is something really good to consider and do some more thinking on, some further insight. Do you have something to say, Hiyu?
Regarding people coming to the Discord and expecting being in the Discord entitles them to the assets. I've never actually had that issue crop up. I've actually had the opposite happen where people think that people are very new to VRChat and they think that you need to buy the assets just to wear an avatar in VRChat, and I had that recently. Coming from Second Life, so it's generally, in our announcements channel, the first thing, it's a big pinned thing, is basically like, it's here, it's for sale. And I think when people come in, our community isn't really centered around the asset. It's more centered around weasels and VR in general. There are several different weasel avatar makers who talk about their work in there. So it's never been an issue for us, really.
Yeah. I guess I've never had that issue since the best boys are free models, but that's really interesting to hear from that side of things. Does anyone have another audience? I guess we can take another question from the audience if anyone has anything they want to ask. Is that Zetharias with their hand up? Or are they just moving around? I can't really tell. I think they just
moving.
Just moving around. Alright.
Okay.
Alright, then I guess we
could
might
take
another one
question
from
online.
Yeah, I guess we could take another one. Let's see here.
And
What are
also
the
thank
best
you to
practices?
everyone who has been putting in questions so far.
Yeah, thank you. Continue sending them in. We got about 2 hours. So if any random thought that would enter your head, pop it towards us, and we'll see if we can get to it. So I guess this is a good question to go to. How do you manage your time considering work, friends, and the content you guys put out? I think that's a good question. So Hawaiian, I guess you could start us off.
Okay, so even if I am the community manager, I still have the layer of moderators, and most of the time I'll have to rely on them and the other. I'm the co-founder of the group, so we also have the founder will get involved otherwise. But me being in Hawaii, which is one of the last time zones, I am going to be, in this case, 2 hours to West Coast. Not sure hours to other areas, but then East Coast is, I think, 5-hour difference, and then Europe is a mirror time zone. So I have to balance during the weekdays when I'm usually employed with I can only really interact with the community in my afternoons. So I don't really remember what my hours were, but I've been in quarantine a while, so it hurts my memory. But with the balance is I will usually have my Discord open, and I have several different Discords that I assist with. I'm only the manager for one. But I keep tabs on them. Once in a while I'll check around. I'll check in like the general chat and see if anyone has anything that pops up, or I'll check the welcoming area and see if I can accept anyone. I'll review them. It's just kind of a balance of, usually when I was done with work, I would immediately get home and check the Discord and see if anything needed to be talked about, anything needed to be handled, any questions, or any direct messages I would get. Otherwise, at a certain point, I'm not sure how many hours I would spend, in quotes, working, and then the rest of the time I would actually be in game and playing with different groups. So in most of the case, my group's kind of not as active, and it's a point to make it more, or to be a little more involved. But it is kind of a balance. So I am involved with the community for a part of my day, but most of the day I'm not.
Yeah. For me, I'm a bit on the younger side. I'm 17. I'm still in high school, so most of the week I'm juggling that alongside taking like 1 or 2 hours a day to work on commissions for custom best boys. Another 2 hours to like work on the world. And then the night I hang out with my friends. Because I feel like when you're juggling those kind of things, it can get very stressful. So you do need that time off sometimes when you're just chilling out with people, with your friends. Because like, if you're just crunching, working all the time, juggling work, school, modeling, creating things, community, it just gets a lot of weight on your shoulders. So another thing is delegate your duties that you don't. You're absolutely you're absolutely sure that someone else can take care of. Like, let's say you're making the model. Good, make your model. Have someone else do the moderation. Have someone else handle bringing new people into the server. Have someone else like delegate duties out to other people, because if you just try and juggle all the stuff by yourself, you will get overwhelmed and get burnt out and curl up in a corner and cry, which has happened. But but like always delegate your duties out to other people in your server who you trust. Make sure that don't say that, oh, you're my friend, you're now staff. Find people who say, hey, this person's helping out people in the server when they join in, or hey, this person's making sure people follow the rules. Find those people. Don't just make someone a moderator because, like, oh, you're my friend. Bring people onto the staff because they are capable people who are involved with the community. Because the last thing you want is staff members who just, sit back, don't do anything. You should always want to have a staff that is active in your community. Because the staff should be an extension of the community, not something a part of the community.
So, I suppose for myself, I actually have I have a little bit of a hectic way of going about this, so I would not recommend taking all my advice with regards to this. But definitely fixate everything around your general sleep schedule. Typically, you'll want to have some times that you can pinpoint and build off of. So, make sure you have a very set, cohesive, continual time of which you'll wake up and go to sleep. That way, you have the proper rest you'll need in order to start the day. I usually delegate 6 hours to working on moderation for various tasks involving the community a day. But that's because I have less responsibilities during the day. It obviously will vary from person to person. So I highly suggest just trying to find a peaceful medium in which you have proper time to delegate to yourself, to the community, to your work, and what have you. But never, ever, ever, and this is something I will always implore, do not cast aside your hobbies, passions, or interests just for a community. As much as you, as a manager, must love and be a part of that community and help to moderate if that is your responsibilities, you have to think about yourself first and foremost. Your health and everything that you do for yourself will impact the community and how you interact with them. So it's always important to take care of yourself first.
Yeah, you can't create for a community if you're just dead all the time, tired, unable to like function. Self-care is really important.
I manage fine doing that.
Oh.
Very nice.
Since my work is only the short hours of the mornings before lockdown, and now I'm not at work, I pretty much have my admins covering the mornings, whoever is in the EU sort of time zone. So by the time I literally I finish work, it's the afternoon, so US is starting to wake up, so I pretty much have the whole afternoon and often night. If it gets to the weekends, I can spend time with them then. But I don't. If I can't make it and want to have my own time, I have my own time.
Yeah, as Rusty mentioned, what's a really good idea is to find the people in your community who are already essentially being the role of moderators without having any kind of moderator role, assigned to them. And I talk to them and say, hey, would you like to be a moderator? Because you seem to already be doing a good job of that kind of work. These are the people who are already interested in cultivating your community for you. So, when it comes to sort of the everyday stuff, generally it's not up to you to be dealing with that. It's up to your moderators. It's sort of the larger plan kind of things and sort of, more scheduling kind of things that are up to you as the community leader. And for me, I've been through a few different work situations this year, but generally, my communities, they're not particularly fast moving. So I've been focusing on quality over quantity. I've been trying to, whenever I'm looking at Twitter, just on the off chance during the day, I'm not just reading Twitter, I'm also studying how are people reacting to things. What are people saying are, competing different sort of moral systems? What kind of things help people get along? What kind of things hurt people? And the more I learn from that, it's like the more data I have to learn about this whole field of human society, which is this sociology essentially. And that can really sort of help. It can inform decisions that you make early in your community that make work way easier later on. If your community is, itself focused on going in a good direction, you don't have to constantly be pulling the steering wheel. What was the other thing I wanted to mention? I'll probably get back to it. But yeah, that's I think is a good thing to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, this is my work. So I'll work on modeling and texturing and whatnot during the day, and I don't have perfectly defined hours. I'll just kind of do it until I get, tired of it at around 5 or 6 p.m. or whenever. Then I'll have some amount of time just hanging out in Discord playing games, and then I'll come here in VRChat and socialize. And if I'm short on time in a day, and some things have to fall away, can only do a subset of things, then hanging out here in VRChat is a priority for me. When the days when I skip socializing in here, I do much worse the next day. It is an absolute priority because humans are very social creatures. If you don't socialize, then you just feel terrible. So very important for me, in this pandemic, VRChat is the primary form of socialization I get. So I always make sure I get enough of it.
Down to being
And then
self-isolated.
as for what Shell said, having a nice sleep schedule, that's ideal. I sleep enough, not at the right time. I should be better at that. I think a lot of people struggle with the proper sleep schedule.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, sometimes you'll have community members reach out to you who are experiencing personal issues with other community members, and it turns into like a whole complicated thing. But it's in these cases, it's no bigger than these two people, and it's nothing to do with your server really. And it doesn't seem to pose any issue for the server. And they're your friends, they're people you can help them out, but know that the time that you should stop helping someone is the time when it becomes so much work for you that you require help yourself. At that point, you are actually doing damage to yourself, and you need to look out for yourself first. There's only so much help you can give before you need help, and don't feel like you have to keep pushing to be everyone's therapist past the point where it's starting to hurt you too.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Again, it's a good jumping off point to another really good question I got. 1 second.
Is that Navali here? Hold on.
Uh-oh.
That's
Dashi's still here?
concerning.
Dashi's
I don't see
here.
Dashi.
I see him next to Shale.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
see
It's
Dashi.
invisible to me.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
invisible to me too.
unhide the avatar. That's a little funny VRChat glitch that'll happen sometimes.
Yes.
Thank you,
Ooh.
VRChat. Very cool.
I've never seen that one
There
before.
you go.
No, it's all good.
I've seen it around before.
We are
It's
back.
relatively
They got
common.
smacked out the world.
Oh, no.
Someone raised their hand.
Yeah, I guess going off what you said about like dealing with people who might have issues themselves, I think this question can go off from that. What about those who harm communities due to a feeling of loneliness or mental oh my god, I can't speak.
Mental.
How do you feel about those who harm communities due to a feeling of loneliness and mental illness? I guess if you would like to start us off, Hawaiian.
Loneliness
start off if you want.
and tight mental. Yeah, sorry. You should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't worry about it.
Okay. Yeah, so, the mental health issues are quite difficult. Personality disorders are especially difficult. Essentially, it's not something that the person is doing wrong. It's something that's wrong that is hurting them. And the way that these mental illnesses can work is that it doesn't just hurt them, it hurts people around them because it manifests as behaviors. I have a thing called complex PTSD, and for a while, my behaviors were freaking out other people, and they were things I couldn't control. Like, I'd make a mistake and I'd try to hurt myself by banging my head on a wall, and this would hurt the people around me because it would make them anxious, and that's something I had to get on top of. Mental illnesses don't just make you feel bad; they can also change your behavior, and you have to really just think of what's the overall good. You're trying to defend your community, and if someone's having a really tough time, it's hurting them too. So you have to make the call: is this hurting everyone? Is this trending good? Are they going to be able to pull through with this? And do they is this something that's going to get better, or is this something that's not going to get better? Is it going to get worse? And
yeah,
it can be really, really hard. It doesn't need to involve any kind of kicking or banning. It may just have to involve talking to the person about, hey, this is the thing that's happening, and it's not your fault. But we have to talk about where you speak and how you do it, and yeah, that is definitely one of the more difficult ones, and one that can require a lot of your own personal time. But it doesn't come up so often in my experience.
yeah.
I mean, we
what was
normally
the other
take
part?
time out of we normally take time out of the day to speak to them one-on-one, or even
Yeah.
Exactly. So what was the first part of the question?
That was pretty much the question. Like that's a good answer to the question. It was how do you feel about what do you do about those who harm community due to feeling of loneliness and mental illness?
Loneliness, right? That was the other one I want to talk about. If you see, movements out there that are very intolerant, hateful movements, hateful communities, they prey on people's loneliness. If people are lonely, then they will seek acceptance from whoever offers it. They're desperate, and if you have a community that is entirely about hating on some group, then they will stick to whatever rules that you put out, and they will, essentially it is a recruitment into radicalization, because they are lonely. They'll play by your rules, and so it's quite difficult when people are extremely lonely that they can start to get involved in radical groups like that, and so you have to really reach out to them so that isn't a thing that happens to them. And yeah, in those cases, helping them out is quite important.
Yeah. In my experience, we've had quite a couple people on the Best Boy server who have had severe mental issues and loneliness. We have a vent channel on our server which kind of is meant to contain a lot of those negative thoughts and have a place for support. And what I found is that what I'm really proud of is with my community is that everyone is kind of more welcoming when they come in. People will help each other out, and I feel that's important for a community to have. It's that kind of like people will help each other. There have been cases where people whose tendencies have led to them needing to be removed from the community, but we've always tried to. First, we would talk with them one-on-one about it and see, hey, what can change here? And sometimes we react with anger and that kind of thing. It's a very tough situation when you deal with those kinds of people, because it isn't their fault in a lot of ways. But if it's harming more people than can be helped by helping that one person, then action does unfortunately need to be taken sometimes, in my experience.
Yeah.
When it comes to loneliness, when you're dealing with lonely people, like, your community should be built around people coming together. Like, when you have a community, like, people will come in there saying, hey, I want to be here. What can this place offer me? And if your community is growing and people will welcome each other into it, say, hey, welcome, let's be friends. Like, I've had people come to me, for example, we did a movie night on the Best Boy server once. And I always remember this because I think this is just really something special to me. Someone comes up to me afterwards and says to me, This is the first time I've ever gone out to movie night with my friends. Thank you so much. And that just was really powerful to me because, I've struggled with loneliness and having trouble making friends before, and really this game has really been pretty much almost a lot of my social interaction, because the people on here I've met and the friends I've made, it's a lot, because it just lets you interact and meet people with similar interests who might be all over the world. Like, just having a place where people can come together. I wish I'd had a place like that when I was younger and more vulnerable, where people can just meet other people and have a good time together. And that's something special.
Something I've noticed too is obviously because of these circumstances, people will try to internalize these feelings, thoughts, and isolate themselves, which can output into loneliness. The best thing you can do as a community manager is, if you are seeing these signs and you want to help promote further positivity and help them get included, you have to be the one to step up and try to provide that aid to them. Not everyone is going to be able to make that first step on their own. And if you're going to be willing to put in the time and effort to help them, then you may yet see a more positive change and a new, active, happy community member.
Absolutely. Very well said. Anyone else have anything they want to say before we move on to the next topic?
No.
All right,
No,
sweet.
I'm good.
Anyone from?
Rusty Dusty. The photograph adder has a question.
Oh.
What's the question? Hello. Yes.
Hi there. So,
Hi.
hypothetically speaking, asking for a friend. Let's say hypothetically, you have a model that you're very excited about, and you're putting it out there for free, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is the most exciting thing ever, and you put it out, and then like 2 weeks later, it's in a couple of worlds, you got a couple of people using it, but like nobody noticed, and it's just kind of like, you have like 6 people on the Discord, and you've seen like 2 people make a thing of it, and you're like, well, what am I doing wrong? Why is that not, why has nobody noticed? Hypothetically, asking for a friend.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, though. Honestly, like as someone who's struggled with self-doubt a lot of the time, I feel like when you're starting off with community, don't expect to be instantly become like, oh, this big thing. Start off with okay, everyone starts somewhere. Like when I started the Best Boy community up again, we had about 20-30 people on our Discord. Just starting off with and we had to build up again from where we were. Everyone starts from pretty much nothing. Everyone has that origin, and it takes years and years to get to where, people get to in their communities. You gotta remember, people who start up communities here probably been going for about maybe I think the most maybe 3 or 4 years, up to around 1 year.
Mine's coming up to about 2 years now.
Yeah. We just celebrated our 4-year anniversary on the Best Boys.
I'd say for everyone, the first month or so is always a slow start.
Absolutely.
To be honest.
Yeah.
And promote it. Say people.
Yeah.
Sorry, Hiyu. You go.
There's 2 components to getting your name or your thing out there. You can't just do a lot of work. You also have to put it in front of the correct people. There is a sequence of decisions in front of you that are, in the possibility space of all the things you could do that lead to the people that are out there who would like this thing that you're making, actually knowing about its existence. And so you have to figure out what the sequence of decisions is. If you don't have a community centered around it, you have to make the decision. Do I want to put in the effort to run a community around it? Is a community the right medium for me to get the name out there about this? Maybe there's some other way, maybe a video, or maybe, maybe something novel that no one's done before. So, it's about figuring out what those decisions are, because there are people out there who want pretty much anything. It's a question of, do they know that you're offering it?
Yeah.
But once they do that, they can normally share it out to other communities, the certain websites that share out the avatars itself, and you put your credit into it. You partner up with them.
Yep, the subreddits, things like that.
No, subreddits. You got the Fur Hub. You got the VRC Arena. All
And
them
even
pages
hashtag
you
a
can.
wonderful website.
Yeah, those too.
May I interject real quick?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Something I wanted to say is the first thing is you have done nothing wrong if you haven't achieved, what your expectations were set to. It's obviously going to be a bit of a process. But the way I look at it is it's not so much about the destination. And I know this is a very cliche thing, but not so much about the destination, but the fun you have along the way, the friends you make along the way. Communities will sprout up in, different ways with different, at different speeds, at different intervals. The most you can do is if you really do want to put yourself out there, and if that is a primary goal and interest of yours, definitely seek those forms of social media, third-party services in which you can promote your work, do it safely, even consult fellow, leaders here of various communities if it is of interest to you. I'm pretty sure most of us here would be willing to provide that advice if it was asked in a personal
absolutely.
degree. Yeah,
Like,
so
my
don't
DMs
stress
are always
yourself
open.
out. You got
Yeah,
this.
and we currently promote other models on our own server as well, and they do the same in return.
Yeah.
We help each other.
It's a give and take.
What I found to be useful is find people, make connections. Like, let's say go out into VRChat and say, hey, like this is a model I made, and some people, oh, that's a cool looking model, and like, hey, do you want this? That kind of thing. That's a good way to do that. Like, promote it. Go to other Discords. Like, a lot of VRChat Discords will have like, oh, put your models here channel. Slide that link in there. Like, hey, I made this. You want it? Here's our Discord. That kind of thing. Just go around, promote it. Like, find people who might be interested in that same kind of thing and say, this is where you can get us and that kind of thing. Also, have a world. A world with public versions of the avatars is such a big step towards that direction. Like, having a world, having a place where people who have the model can congregate. Like, host events with your community, too. Like, even if it's small, like, let's say you got, like, a 10-person Discord and say, hey, we're all going to meet up at this time, and then go to there. And have, like, a little fun time. That encourages people to bring their friends, and encourages people to bring stuff in.
That actually reminded me of something I'm going to slip in real quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Consistency. People like consistency. If you have consistent events, meetups, and everything, that really will, I think, be a warm, safe, and welcoming environment for people to attempt to join.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a good question. And
yeah. I have another one from the website. If we could take that now, unless there's anything else you want to say. All right.
No,
sweet.
cool.
This is another one towards the paid model creators over here. What do you do if someone leaks a paid model for free? Actually, I think this happened to the Shibas. I'm not sure if it's happened to the Long Boys or Spaghet. So go ahead.
Oh yeah, that happened to me recently. There was someone informed me of a file floating around on Google Drive that was leaking my paid models, and it's as simple as issue a takedown. Like a Google Drive, they have they have links and services for dealing with taking down copyrighted stuff. Google's good with this stuff, especially. Other creators like Hubbard have dealt with having their models leaked on Booth. Some other creators have had issues with people reselling their stuff on Gumroad. Gumroad and Booth, they both have systems for taking this down. You just talk to the staff. This thing happens now and then. They know how to deal with it, and then it gets taken down. If it's like OneDrive or Google Drive, they also have mechanisms for taking this stuff down. Ultimately, you have to accept that there's going to be some rate of piracy, but ultimately this is going to be from poorer countries where people can't afford your model anyway. The people that pirate this stuff, they wouldn't be purchasing your model anyway, and the majority of people here, they respect artists, and they wouldn't just pirate stuff, for the sake of piracy, for the sake of saving $1.
Yeah. Especially with
Yeah.
VRChat models, because those are usually like a 1 or 2 person project when it comes to paid models. That's kind of like an income source for the creator.
Yeah, these are personal creations. Most of them, to my knowledge, are not based on corporate interference in creation. But that was very well said, Spaghet. I don't think I actually have anything to add on to that. It was
Yeah.
Yeah, I
very
heard
well
that
done.
this the Longboy model was actually ripped on VRChat before it was even released. It wasn't even in
Yeah,
a
I
state
heard
where
about
I
that too.
would like it. And I was quite angry at first, like, oh my god, this is floating around. People are downloading it, and it's not even done. It's not even the quality I would like. But ultimately, you got to accept, just like with games or with music, there's gonna be piracy, and if you're in a situation where there's nothing left that you can do about it, it's just floating around VRChat. People are doing it here and there. So long as no one's actually taking credit for your work, it's just going to be there, and you can just go, hey, if they don't know about it, we can reach out to them and say, did you know this is a paid asset? But otherwise, they wouldn't have bought it anyway. So if
true.
anything, it's if they weren't going to buy it anyway, it's better that they're showing it off.
It's just free promotion at that point.
don't be too angry about it unless they're actually selling it, or they're hosting on a site where you have the ability to take it down. But as a general rule for all of life, if you know there's nothing you can do about it, move on. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like
there's always going to be someone who's have
if
it.
some individual is pirating something, it's like whatever. It's when people are reselling it, that's when it's an actual problem.
Yeah,
and that's when you need to seriously take care of it. But if it's just an individual copying it, it's like whatever.
And speaking as someone who creates whose team creates free models, like the way the Best Boy models are, we release them publicly on our website and on our stuff. But I've had people who've tried to claim that they were the ones who made the models. That people would just come in and say, "Oh yeah, I made this," and I'm like, we go into those places and we see that, and I'm just like, not really. We have in our TOS, like, if you make public Best Boy models, you have to link back to the Best Boy Discord somewhere in the world, and that kind of thing, which I think helps lower down on that. Whenever I'll see it, I'll reach out to the person and say, hey, could you do this for us? Or, hey, why are you claiming this is your model? And that kind of thing. I've actually had a case where someone tried to sell the Best Boy model to someone else, which was a whole interesting conversation with that person. But yeah, definitely, it's a different situation for me, but there's definitely really not much you can do about piracy. It's gonna happen, but just take it down when you see it and that kind of thing, and the overwhelming majority of people are just gonna pay for it in the end. But it's interesting to hear that perspective, I guess. Anyone else from the audience have a question? Alright, I guess we'll move on to another one from here.
I don't believe so. I think, let's get another question online.
Yeah, I just always want to ask, just in case if someone has a question, but I guess it's always good to take some from, always good from the website, because we've got a lot coming in right now. So, yeah, let me find some, another good one. Alright, what is an unexpected, this is a good one. What is an unexpected challenge that has surprised you as your community has grown? Also, what is your favorite pizza? I guess Hawaiian could start us off with that one.
Oh my god. Okay. Okay, so
If you say Hawaiian pizza, I agree with you. It's very good.
I don't purposely order Hawaiian pizza. If someone gives it to me, I'll take it, but I'm not against it. I think overall my favorite type of pizza is probably from like smaller type joints like biology and stuff, where you can kind of build it yourself. In most cases, I'll just try to do a combination where you just smack on all this different vegetables and ingredients, but then you balance it with enough meat. So not one specific one, but I like variety. Unexpected challenges, I think, is when since my group is pretty much all except for the very latest model, all free models. I do constantly get asked okay, so I keep seeing people with the Ginu, and I see it in the maps, but is it in the Discord? So the main thing that's come up is we only have one paid model, and that's the latest model. And the other ones are pretty good also, but we also have a few more edits of one of our older models in community edits. So a lot of times, unexpected stuff is people don't realize that we have that much variety of models to work with. So I usually have to manually give people the links or send them stuff. So that's kind of the only unexpected thing that I've encountered.
Yeah. For me, I think I'm gonna sneeze. For me, what I found is that like when you're running a community, you'll run into it. People will message you as like you're the arbiter of all these things. Like you'll get people who like, oh my god, it's you! Oh my god, it's you! And like they always want to try and be your friend. You're like this, follow you around, like those kind of people. And I'm like, I don't know you. Help. That's something I found like that kind of like. What's it? I forget what the term is. I'll probably remember it later. It's like something where it's called where like.
It's parasocial relationship.
Yeah, that's it. Parasocial relationships. But that'll happen.
They know you, but you don't know them.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, hello, hi, I'm Rusty, or like, oh, hi, I'm community leader person, and they're just like, oh my gosh, it's you, and you know, and my favorite type of pizza is, and I'm gonna get sin for this. I love I like pineapple. I like pretty much anything on pizza. I like pineapple, anchovies, like sausage, all and like peppers, anchovies, peppers, like salami, a lot of cheese, New York style pizza. It's so good. Like just all that stuff on top of it on one pizza. Oh, bacon too. Bacon, lots of bacon on there. Yes, I've had it. It's so good, honestly. It doesn't sound like it. It is good. Well, for me, it is. It's my thing, and I like it.
It might seem a little silly, but one of the bigger challenges that I have faced and wasn't expecting to see so much of is more centralized of a problem here to I found that people like to target each other quite often. I don't know quite why this might be the case, but that was something I wasn't expecting, and definitely something that takes a lot of research to look into, considering all perspectives, all sides of what might have instigated this targeted harassment or behavior towards another individual. But yeah, I've had a lot of issues I've had to face, such a wide variety. I don't think I actually have one that stands out too much more than that, I suppose. My favorite type of pizza, just plain cheese pizza, but with cheese stuffed crust. I love cheese. Cheese is really good.
That sounds really good.
Ooh.
Yum.
Well, but,
I got too
Shalefoot,
excited about cheese. I'm sorry.
What you were kind of saying before about like people having issues with each other. What I found, I kind of want to go off of that for just a quick second. Like I've noticed that like people would try and make their personal issues into like a server-wide issue. Like, oh, this person, I hate them. Don't let them near me. Like just like, well, we have a rule. Just keep it to DMs. If you're having a personal little fight with someone else, we don't want your petty drama getting involved with our community. Just keep it away, unless it becomes like an abusive situation, which then come to us about it, and we'll try and sort it out if we can.
What?
But like I said, keep most personal issues out of our limelight. Like, don't make it a server issue.
I'd honestly say mine's similar to yours, so I ain't got much to say for the first part. But on the pizza side, I'm not really fussy, but I'd say mostly my favorite is ghost pepper on pizza.
Oh yeah.
I could never. I cannot eat spicy food.
Something that really surprised me is that there are so many people with the autism spectrum disorder who are community leaders. And you know, I myself am one person with that, and it's like, you know, why me? Like, shouldn't I be the person who's worst at social stuff? And really, it comes down to, once we learn socializing the way autistic people have to learn socializing, we can't just pick it up like any other skill, like, you know, neurotypical people do. We have to kind of learn it more like a science. It's a much more conscious process, and you have to decide you want to put time into learning that. But once you do, you fully understand it. You know, it's something where you don't just kind of know, you don't know why you understand it. It's more like you actually have started at the beginning and built upon that foundation of knowledge that, you know, at any given time you can look through that in your mind and go, oh yeah, this is why this thing works and this is why this thing doesn't. And I think, you know, in the end, after a lot of work, that is one way I can look at it and sort of see a silver lining there. And that really surprised me.
Yeah, for
and
me,
pizza.
I kind of agree.
Yeah.
Because I also have Asperger. I have Asperger syndrome, so I have a similar kind of form to that. But yeah, pizza. I want to hear.
Yeah, Asperger's has been redefined now as just on ASD, autism spectrum disorder. Whether it's a disorder or disability, I know they're still figuring it out. Pizza though, I've been trying capricciosa recently. It's got like ham and mushrooms and stuff. I really like mushrooms on pizza.
Ooh, mushrooms on pizza is delicious. I love mushrooms.
Yeah, but really it's an availability problem. I want to get back to my anchovies. I want to get back to my artichokes. And while I was in Italy, oh my god, I saw this pizza. It was a calzone that had a hole cut in the top of it. It was called an Etna, like Mount Etna, the volcano, because it was really like chilly hot, and they had the tomato sauce going down the sides, so it actually looked like a mountain with a caldera and like lava flowing down. I want that. I want that so bad.
That sounds really good.
Thanks, you made me hungry.
For me, something I'd say that is surprising is the sheer speed at which people will make customizations of an avatar, and then also the scope of which they would do it, like really deep edits of models, and they'd also do it pretty quickly. I guess it's inevitable when you have a large number of people working on the same thing in parallel that you'll have a lot of things being produced, but yeah, that's always surprising. Like when a new model comes out, just how quickly people jump onto it. Now, for the important question, pizza. Blue cheese, bacon, caramelized onion. That's a great combo. Pepperoni and pineapple. That's also one I love. Extra cheese every time, regardless of pizza type. Always good. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%.
This guy's always talking about food.
Yeah, and like, when it comes to like people making edits of stuff, like I agree with you. Like, I've seen people. Like, we had 2 people on our Best Boy server who took the Best Boy model, which is like kind of similar to a Dutch Angel Dragon, and actually make it a Dutch Angel Dragon. And we made it an official community model now. You can get on our website. It's just so cool that people will just take this and like mold it in their own direction. And like people have made some beautiful edits. I've seen people like these beautiful silver streaks and like silver and gold. Like Spaghet has like gold. It's just so beautiful, and just I love seeing the stuff people make. It's one of my favorite parts of just scrolling through like the model, like the media channel, and just seeing all the beautiful little edits that people make. It's just always so wonderful.
Of course, every now and then, I'll get reminded that someone made a long boy Hooters.
Don't worry.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone's done with the Best Buy yet. That at least I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Oh god, you giving them the you're giving them the idea.
No.
But yeah, like that was a
question?
really good question. Yeah, anyone from the audience? Doesn't look like it.
Oh, I
Let's
think
get
I
from the-
see. I
Oh,
think
do we?
Bakari.
Oh, Bakari, yes. What's your question?
What has been your favorite part about being a community member or community leader?
That's a really good question.
Oh.
Yeah.
God.
Wyatt, I guess you could start off and we go down the line again. Sorry to always put you on the spot to start us off. It's just he's right there,
yes,
and it's just easy to move that
as
way.
community, I will start. Sorry, what was the question?
Bakari.
I mean, what has been your favorite part about being a community leader?
Okay, so my favorite part of being community leader is overall, because I have usually manually invited a lot of different individuals, I've been able to keep running into them, either if I've friended them or see them down the line, like sure there's a time gap. But it's always nice to see what I consider old friends, and most of the time, because when our group was started, people really didn't have many options. They would kind of go and join us because you get a free model, you could build off of it, and you could kind of make a hyena that's inspired by your Sona and your patterns. But as time has gone by, thankfully we've had so much beautiful models done, and it's very accessible through Gumroad, and people actually can become themselves. It's really nice to see people down the line actually as their own characters and as themselves, and it's even more fun when they have VR, because then they can properly interact, and it's really awesome. So that's usually the thing that I think is the greatest, is having so many friends along the way and just kind of hanging out.
Absolutely. I guess for me, my personal favorite part of running the community, just seeing people come together as friends. Like I think I talked about this earlier. I was getting a little sentimental about it. Just people finding each other and becoming friends who maybe weren't able to make friends before. Like seeing people come together in the framework of the community and just become friends, or like just that kind of thing, just really special to me.
Yeah, I think for me it's actually kind of a similar case of seeing people being able to individualize themselves and adapt and work on these base avatars to really portray themselves, maybe even to create stories and like memories with people here. Even though this is a virtual space, I feel as though I can never forget a day that goes by being a part of these communities. I love every single moment, even with all the trials and tribulations that we face, the friends and the memories we make along the way completely just push those aside. I don't even have to worry or let that dominate my mind, because I know happiness is always around the corner so long as I'm around these wonderful beings.
I'd say mine's similar. I've had a couple of people from my community literally thank me for having the community, for them meeting all their new friends that they've really became close with. And it's always nice to see what the community make from the models evolve, make it how far it changes from various different looks and forms.
I think that's been difficult for me throughout my life is the idea of family. And, joining communities or starting a community, that sense of being part of a family is very important. And when people come to me in the communities that I've made and tell me, hey, I was really lonely, I didn't have anyone to talk to, at least about the things they cared about, until they join the community and they feel like it's their new family, that for me is a really important thing. And I feel, very, very content that that's something that I've contributed to. On this panel, we're talking a lot about the bad times, talking a lot about problems and how we solve them. But that occupies hopefully, a minority of our time. The rest of the time is full of that feeling. Oh, you
spilled my drink on me. I'm good.
But yeah, the majority of the time is just feeling that sense of being part of this family. We do this stuff out of love.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think your mic's muted, Spaghet.
Yeah, it was muted.
There we go.
Yeah, the best time in the community is just the community existing, the community just doing its thing. People, just having a great time and doing whatever they want. And with the magic of technology, being able to do this despite being locked in their home somewhere, even having greater social lives than they had before, potentially. And I hope that a lot of the people that have discovered VR because of the big thing happening outside, I hope that a lot of these people stick around and have been, infected with it. And see it as the obvious future medium of long-range communication. But yeah, it's a good time. That's why we're here. That's why we care.
Thank you. That was a good question.
I really like that question.
Yeah, that was wonderful. I got another. Draken, if you have a question, what's up?
As far as communities go and grow, there are sometimes gags or trends, maybe sometimes a hobby that ends up spreading. Are there any in particular that have surprised you that you'd like to share?
Ooh.
I guess I might have Spaghet start off this time, because let's switch it up a little bit. Hawaiian's been starting. Let's have Spaghet start this time.
It's all on you.
What's the question?
Have you noticed any kind of like gags, in jokes, or hobbies that surprise you that sprung up in your community?
Huh.
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 I'm not sure. I guess just the general like meme nature of VRChat, where people will go and make these eccentric animations that are just these elaborate memes. For the sake of like a 5-second joke or something, for a meme that's gonna be dead within a few weeks. I always love seeing that. That's great. Just yeah,
I don't like seeing that in public
using
lobbies,
VRChat
but-
as an animation humor medium. That's great to see.
Yeah.
I need to stop making so many.
So you're always scrolling through avatar lists because you can't find your own anymore.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Except all the public ones as well. It's just so hard.
Oh gosh, yeah. Something that I that I noticed is that a lot of small communities that are like sort of subsections of your own community spring up. Like I have I run a couple Telegram groups. There's a patron one, and then there's a big Telegram group that's like a big chunk of the furry sort of astrophysics and space fans, and that group has 2 or 3 like smaller subsection groups of members who are in it who go off and do their own things, play other games and stuff. So seeing gaming is obviously highly tied to all of this. I mean, especially right now, it's pretty much all we can do. So there's a lot of people who go off and make their own smaller groups, which are like subsets of your community. That's really interesting. As far as memes and jokes go, on the Longboy Discord, we get some really freakish illustrations of extremely tall people and things like that, and lots of really cute pictures of ferrets and stuff. So that's really nice. And in the space community, oh my god! Like once you build up a massive knowledge of the politics behind like space policy and different rockets and companies, and the meme potential is incredibly esoteric but incredibly good.
I really ain't got nothing to say, really.
Oh. I guess with the Shiba community in particular, because the model was technically around being debuted and showed off in other forms from people getting commissions from Pikapidi himself, when the files officially went public, there was so much excitement surrounding it that a bout of creativity came around towards most of our members to create their own variations of various memes and trends, and we still continue to see them spreading up to this day. Some of the more memorable ones that I recall is the Ugandan Shiba, created by Pikapidi himself. There's also the Dog of Wisdom, that you can actually puppet with both your hands. Your one hand controls the actual rotation of the body of the little hand puppet. The other controls the head. And that one was created by Hightail in our community. And another one I can recall is the muscular Shiba, created by Auras in the community. There are so many I really wish I could name, but I honestly can't recall them off the top of my head. But I'm pretty sure that many of you might have seen a few running around out there.
A lot of memes, DeLoreans and muscular Shibas, and just so many memes. So many
memes.
Mm-hmm. For me, what I've seen on the Best Boy server in particular is we have Best Boy lore and that kind of thing. That Best Boys lay eggs. We had to lock down our lore channel for like 3 days because everyone kept talking about how to make Best Boy omelets, and I'm just like, oh no.
That is positively awful.
That is. It's like, yeah, we'll make the long egg the long egg, but it's the Best Boy egg.
You know what? After this panel, just Google long egg, and look up pictures of please. It's a fantastic technology.
Indeed, this is the future of society.
Yeah.
Anyway, Hawaiian.
No.
That's actually rule 5 on the Longboy Discord, is that you must be informed of long egg.
This is true. Kind of being one of the early remodels. Contextually, this was around 2018, so yes, we were in the contemporary of the Ugandan Knuckles and all that. So people did make different themed ones, and people took little edits, and we're very grateful that also one of the people that originally ported over the Knuckles avatar was part of our community. So they made sure to go and use the smaller smaller hyenas to give them a giant jaw flap so that they would talk very exaggeratedly. And their personal one has knuckles in the mouth, so it's like being controlled by knuckles.
Oh, no.
So it's all contextual to like the time period.
They actually showed up to the hyena meetup that we had here at Furality the other day.
Yes, we're very honored.
Do we have
Okay.
another question
Yeah.
we'd like to take, perhaps from the audience or online?
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone from the audience have a question?
Oh.
I think I see one. From
I
Let's
I
see,
was
what's
thinking
up?
this question, and then you actually started mentioning it, Shalefoot, about some of your favorite models. So I was going to ask, what are some of the favorite models in your community that you guys maybe stuck out to you that you really enjoyed? Like with my brother, our dog recently passed away a couple months ago, and his friend was, because he's recently got into VRChat, his friend was so kind of generous to actually take the Shiba model and remake our dog in the Shiba model, which helped my brother a lot with grief and everything, and he loves it to death. So what are some of your favorite models that you've loved to see in the community that you guys, that are like really memorable to you? Oh, to you guys.
Yep. I guess the Hawaiian could start, and then we'd move down again.
Yep.
I might have to think on it. It's been a bit since people have done a lot of customs. But I think overall, the more popular of the numbers end up actually being a community edit. Like even when people started out, we had originally converted from SL models, so they didn't quite have fingers. They had kind of nubs. And as time progressed and people started asking, our modeler Darn Heinen, the founder, was willing to go and oblige. He has a specific style, and some people like it and some people don't. So by the time he got to the V3, the files got around to a few of my moderators, and they made two different variants of the V3 edits for the community edits. And so they pertain to different things, and we're very grateful to Syfy, who's one of our very good older modelers. He worked a lot with the V3, so numerically wise, the V3 community edit by Syfy is the most numerous and the most liked of our group.
Yeah, for the best boy, I've seen so many amazing edits that people make. My personal favorite one is the best boy that has like a bunch of beanies. It just stacks up into the sky. It's just so wonderful. It's just like also made little best boys, a little like bread best boy. And then there's like the meme of the lower and lower poly best boys, where just someone takes a best boy, just makes it like 20 polys, or like the cube best boy, where just 4 polys. It's just so it's so hilarious. Honestly, I love it.
I don't think I can get away without saying that the people who have actually like worked with the base mesh of the Shiba avatar to shape it and create other species and like different and anatomical like body shapes to help people fully represent themselves in VR, because the Shibas as a base have so much customizability, but actually shaping the mesh to really individualize and really accentuate those forms, I think has really brought it out. Some people out there, Tosca made the species edits like the cat Shiba model and the wolf Shiba. Then there is also the chunky Shiba, which was made by Stray. I'm trying to recall. There are quite so many of them. And I also have to give thanks to Alucard in our community, who would make frequent public updates to everyone out in the Shiba community to have more optimized and updated versions like for 3.0 support. We really couldn't have as much variations and individualism without, the support of the community. So much thanks goes out to those people. And even if I didn't name you, I bet you're out there. And you did amazing.
I really wouldn't know what a favorite one would be for me. Really, I change on an instant constantly into different versions of these and other species overall. So it's a bit difficult for me to even pick a favorite. But I'm this 1.4 version 90% of the time. But that's about it, really. What about you?
I've been stumped by the just talent of everyone making their own custom versions. Back when I've been a furry for 11 and a half years, I remember some artists who made, who were weasel personas from years back that I would follow and look at their art and be like, oh, that's so good. How would I ever be that good? And then now they've got long boys and they're changing the long boys to be their personas and doing such a good job. And it's like, wow, it feels really great.
The longest long boy.
Oh
Yes,
no! Oh, he
the
turned into it.
longest.
Oh no! It's like 100 meters tall. He made this in like 5 minutes after it went live. All right.
Oh my!
Like, could you move your arms or something? Like,
I haven't even loaded for myself yet. Oh, there we go.
Oh, gosh.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
there goes
Yeah.
his voice.
I'm way above the ceiling. I don't even know where I am.
No. Yeah, it's
He's gonna get back.
Has science gone too far?
Graphical glitch. It looks like a line or something. But
It is the longest boy. I think
that is actually the longest.
one on
I think it's like
record.
100 meters tall. But
Okay.
yeah, it's only been out for a couple months. We're gonna enter phase 2 of the. Oh my god, Jesus.
There you go.
We're gonna enter phase 2 of the avatar at some point and start making like accessories. I want to make like sweaters and clothing and different silly things. And at that point, I want to see how far it goes.
That's a
So we
direction
get
we're going
phase
with
two
the
of the
best
long
boys
boy.
too.
We get phase 2 of the longest long boy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
We
boy.
released just recently. I think we just released it today. When I announced this event, we released the Best Boy hoodie, which is now on our Discord and
Ooh.
on Gumroad. Yeah, we're always right now. My goal is to release 1 or 2 outfits per month for my best boy, for our best boys.
And now I've been bothered to make a hoodie for my community as well.
Yeah, we all need matching hoodies.
My lord.
But I think this is a
I
really good
forgot what the
question. I
question
think-
is.
yes,
What's your
yes,
favorite
I'm sorry.
like edits of your avatar that you've seen floating around?
Yeah.
I'm really biased, but I like my own edit where it just shuffles through all of the designs.
Fancy.
Yeah,
But I've seen a bunch of edits people made. I mean, the funniest one I can't even mention because it's really not safe for work. But there was another
no.
one where it's the deer version of it, where every like part of the antler has a little air freshener hanging off of it. So there's just this cluster of hundreds of air fresheners, all with dynamics just jiggling around.
That's nice. Yeah.
Remind me not to join you when you have that on.
I think we might have time for 1 or 2 more questions.
Oh, has it really already been 2 hours?
Yes, thank you for the questions.
Almost, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, that's
You
like
guys have made this such a fun experience. It feels like
Honestly,
time has gone by.
if it's like 15, 20 minutes. Honestly, this is. I think this is a really, really good question to end off on for like questions. Each of your
Alright.
communities are incredibly unique and creative. What are your favorite things about each other's iconic avatars? I guess I could start off with that. Hawaiian. I love the best boy. I'm best boy. You're hyena. I love the hyena like design and aesthetic, like the little painted lines, and the tribal markings, and the clothing you guys have, like all your unique like jumpsuits and outfits and armor. It's really been a major inspiration for me, at least. Shalefoot, I love the sheep's dynamic expressions, like the way their faces move and like their little cheeks jiggle. It's always so wonderful to see. And Dashi, I love like all the cool stuff you do with the evolve, with like your armor, your weapons, all your like beautiful designs and shiny bits and feathers. The feathers are always so cute, how they little move around. I love like the amount of detail you put into the long boy, like the way your eyes are, your mouth, like your fur. It just always looks so cuddly, like something I could pick up and just snuggle. And Spaghet, I love like the design you did on your kangaroo, like the way it's so adaptable. Like people can take that and do pretty much almost anything with it in Substance Painter, or just like it's always just so cool to see all the cool edits like people do with them. I guess Hawaiian. No, sorry, I just went off there for a minute. Ah.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
So
I was
I'm
about to
also
say.
I'm very. You're good. You were gonna say or no? Or...
Mine was going to be pretty short and simple because I'm pretty speechless on everyone's models because they're all unique in their own way. I just adore like everything about them. You make the personality of the avatar really show off.
Yes, indeed.
So Whitman?
Okay.
With
to me.
certain for each one, one of the aspects I liked most, like for the hyena, it's the
Isn't
You
internet
start-
dying for anyone else?
Yeah, I think it's straight like that for a minute.
No.
Oh no.
Come back to us.
Oh
No.
it's
You wanna
crashing.
tell us yours is typing?
Okay.
Why not working?
I have a question.
You died for a bit there.
Come
Oh,
on,
this is
come
it.
back to
Go
us.
through with them. Kind of another question at the end, which everyone's gone through.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Okay. But
Oh.
Stars for FT.
Oh, it's down again.
You need Starlink, bro.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'm gonna
Fine,
vouch and
hold
say,
on.
Never mind
Whitman,
then.
you go ahead and tell me.
Yeah, you go
Okay,
ahead.
I will.
Apparently,
I will have to.
apparently it doesn't
I
wanna
will
let you.
speak.
You can mail your
Okay.
answer in
So,
writing.
so I am very grateful for like actually seeing many of these communities all come up and all started and actually all come along, and it's really awesome because like there's so many different varieties of Best Boy, and they're all great, and I really love like all the different individual things. And much as how they were talking earlier about like your avatar list being a bit too long, well, I think I'm up to like 800 something models, and a lot of them are different cutie models.
Oh,
Shit. Unfortunately, I haven't made very many edits of the Shiba. I only think I have one single one. I had someone else retexture it for me. I also only have 2 of Ollie, so I haven't really had much variety with them. But as a pointer, when I get a model, I really kind of try to have continuity, and I have the same Second Life glasses on almost all my models, and so that's initially what I'll put on. Be like, I like the original color palettes, usually nice and browns, so I'll just kind of stick those on. I really enjoyed the Longboy when it finally got officially released because it was just very nice to use the different itinerations as it was being developed. Very nice, and
Very nice.
I stuck nice hat on it, and so like I'm slightly individual, but not too different. And immediately once the kangaroo was finally released, I really look forward to it because I really wanted to make a custom kangaroo, and I just loved it. I just put a lot of cool accessories on it, but like overall, I'm just always amazed by so much variety. And unfortunately, we're still sorting things, but like there are other groups and there are other public models and other models that are sold on Gumroad, and I try to get at least buy them in sequence, but it's all just kind of balancing budgets. So I really like to customize models.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Yins because they're unique and stylized around a particular art style. I like the Best Boys because they're such a really good default base to expand upon with various species, and I love some of the edits they've made, especially the Dashi. It's really good. I like the Avalis because you don't see many feathered, at least in my experience, you don't see many feathered avatars here in VRChat. And there's something very satisfying about being in VR and flapping those wings. I like the long boys because I've always had an affinity for weasels, and I think this is a perfect opportunity. It reminds me of the ferret avatars that exist, but it's also a unique adaptation in that it's more realistic, but adapts also cartoonish aspects about it. It's such a combination of both. It's so cute and amazing. And Spaghet, all I could say is I love the deer. I love it so much. There's something about it that's so cute and charming to me personally.
Yeah. But once again, I'm so sorry that if we weren't able to get to your question. We had a lot of amazing questions. We only have 2 hours, unfortunately, for this panel. Maybe we'll do another panel some other time, maybe outside of Furality. Oh, there's so many I wish I could get to. Again, like last year. Even though we had twice the amount of time, there's just so many amazing things that all of you guys have done. Thank you so much for coming. And before we end off and do our official sign-off, I believe that Shalefoot has a little announcement to make. So I'll take it over to her.
First of all, I want to say thank you all once again as well for submitting your questions here to this panel and being, here present tonight, contributing to Furality in what way you can with, coming and enjoying the events and donating to Save a Fox. But what I have to say here tonight is I will officially be resigning as a staff member and community manager of the Shiba Squad. This Shiba Squad has been a big part of my journey in joining VRChat, and it means so very much to me. And there's nothing I want more than this community to continue and thrive and grow beyond, my departure. This by no means will mean that I will stop talking to anyone who's a part of it. If anything, I will continue to talk to those that I have met through the Shiba Squad and share my experiences and still forge new happy, fun memories with. But I think it's definitely time to move forward, try to strive, and follow my passions and my hobbies. And I believe that's all I have to say. But before I end this off here, I think Pika Piri wanted to say some words on my behalf. If you'd like to come up here and take my place on stage. Oh, I think your mic is mute, by the way.
You're muted.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, yes. Hello. Yes. Am I here? Okay, Shalefoot.
Yes, we can hear you.
You've been. Fuck. This is really hard. All right. I know we talked about this, but this is pretty hard. You have been dynamite. There's a reason why Shalefoot is here on stage instead of me, because she has been a staple in my community. She's she's like the fifth Shiba that I basically Shiba member.
7th. Wait, that doesn't matter.
Okay. Anyways, you've been on the Shiba Squad in the beginning, and working with you has been a joy. Right, I have nothing but praise to say about you. You've built up the community, you've organized the community, and there's a reason why she's on here instead of me, because she represents the community that I could not communicate. I'm not good at words. All right, Shalefoot, you're definitely good at words. Thank you so much. And all I have is to do is praise. Thank you so much for being part of this community. Thank you so much for monitoring this community. The door is always open. And, the door is always open for you to come back. And this is a perfect exit. I gotta,
Okay, you're good. Thank you, Petey.
I'm good. Yeah. And thank you so much, Shalefoot. You've been absolutely a joy to work with. I have nothing but praise.
Thank you.
And I know your future is going to be just full of opportunity, because holy baloney, you are an awesome organizer.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yep.
Thank you very, very much, Petey.
Mhm.
I think that'll be all for our panel today.
Yeah.
Thank you guys again so incredibly much. This has been such an amazing and humbling experience.
Yes.
And I don't have enough thanks and enough words to give out to you guys. I'm shaking. I'm just so thankful. Would you guys like to get a photo to end this off?
I have a quick couple of things to say before we end off, though. As the whole, I got everyone here together. I got this panel started. What I'd like to say to anyone else who has a community out there, reach out to me. The best way Discord is down here. Join it. Send me a DM. If anyone is leading a community and wants to be maybe involved with this panel at next Furality, or potentially maybe some other kind of event that we might be hosting, just message me on Discord whenever you can, and we'll talk about it. That'd be really cool to have more people up here to get more perspectives, because this bench might look like it's not that big, but we can always expand it. We can always get more creators and more people on here to talk. I think that'd be really special. So message me if you're ever interested in that. And I guess one more thing that before we end off is, like I said, thank you all for coming to the panel. Myself and everyone else here who's been able to come, thank you so much for being a part of this. And I look forward to working with all of you guys in the future. It's always wonderful meeting people and being a part of these things. So I guess if we could get everyone to do a group photo, maybe, yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I gotta stand up now. My legs hurt.
My legs.